and thank you for clicking on this video. So today's going to be a little bit different video, but I wanted to ask you, is Charlie Kirk today's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Now, what would be very interesting is if, of course, if you put down below your initial answer, your initial reaction to this question, down below in the comments, and then refer back to that. Stick with me. Refer back to that after the video here and see if your answer is still the same. Okay? So just stick with me on this one. But really, of course, the events of the past couple days have, it's definitely been a shock. And it's one of those shocks that affect everyone in some way. And, no matter what field a person is, if they're in media, they're talking about it. No matter what you read, there's headlines talking about it. So, that's kind of like my first point. Dr. Martin Luther King affected every facet of American society and throughout the world. And really, Charlie Kirk did as well. And you could tell by the reactions, the reactions afterwards. It's everyone everywhere is talking about it, okay? And so that's I would say that's point one on why I believe Charlie Kirk is today's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., okay? The effect, it was like, they affected people in their hearts, affected people personally, deep inside. And both had a foundation in God. And that's really what I would argue is the power behind both of them. Now they still have to use their free will and choose and walk the walk. So I'm not taking anything away from either one, okay? But with God, all things are possible, okay? And really, both of them affected people in positive ways. And I think partly because of that is not only because they involved God in it, but they walked that walk, okay? They weren't one of these fake people that you see all over that say one thing and do another. They lived what they were saying, no matter if it was easy or not, okay? And so, again, just seeing how the world, not just the United States, but really the world has responded to Charlie Kirk's assassination really speaks to what he did while he was here. Same with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. These are generational type people, type leaders, okay? And really blessings from God to try to steer God's children on the path of life, the narrow path. When we get off track as a society, as a people. And personally, I would argue that God used both of them in huge ways for society. But not just society, like I said, they both really hit people personally. And really that comes from God, okay? So, anyways, I would say that, the way they affected people, okay? Um, and really, they affected people not from, I would say, a um, a society um, titled position necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like the president of the United States, or it's not a CEO of a corporation, or it's not a anchor on CNN or whatever. Like, it wasn't the position they used to touch people and get to people. They touch people by being themselves. Does that make sense? Um, so I would argue that in that way, there, Charlie Kirk is today's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And in other ways too. So stick with me. Another one, like I was saying, really they spoke truth. They had their foundation in God. They had their foundation that doesn't shake. Okay. But they both spoke truth, and I think partly how they touched so many people is because they spoke the truth that we are all creations of the Creator. Okay? And we all should be respected. Okay? Um, you can argue specifics, like, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about the African American people in American society. But I think he went beyond that, really. And you can say that, Charlie Kirk was more about, more political, or, you can talk about like anti-abortion. You can talk about more specifics of how it came across or how it looked in the physical world. But the foundation, I argue, is the same. God led, God supported the will of God, in my opinion. And both men's lives were. Of course, we all have a purpose, and I don't want to take away from that, but they did it better than than the vast majority of us, I would say. They both spoke truth, boldly, like a lion. And that's not easy. In the face of hard ridicule, not just that, but death threats. Like, they fought it every day. It wasn't like it was probably pleasant in terms of what they had to face, but I can see it's joyful because they knew that it was truth. And they based, again, their foundation on truth, which truth is God. Okay? And they both spoke boldly as a lion. Like I have, what is it? Proverbs 28, chapter 1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. And that truly applies to both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Charlie Kirk. I would definitely. They both would go out to people and speak. Different locations. They would go where the people were and just speak, debate, and listen and respond. They weren't just trying to, I would say, had a personal agenda for personal gain like many people do. They were just wanting to speak truth and had that purpose and did it boldly like a lion. It takes guts. Unfortunately, not as many people today have those type of, I was going to say balls. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I know it's truth and I'm standing on it in the face. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Like, literally, they personified that. Okay? Both are, I would say, I mean, very similar. I mean, God uses people in ways that are, you know, God's ways are not our ways. God's thoughts are not like our thoughts. Like he is God. He is the Almighty. Like I was going to, you know, like how you would, like worldly saying, like, you're the man. Yeah, oh yeah. Well, no, he's beyond the man, you know. And it's wonderful, his works. And he worked through both these men in a big, big way. I would say both met people where they were and used words. Like, they both had, I would say, the armor and sword of God behind them. And actually I want to read about that here, but they both definitely had that and used it and was true to it, stuck with it no matter what was they faced. And they personified what they're a modern day personification of nothing is impossible with God. Let me put it that way. But they used truth and not violence, and they preached, you know, they preached peace, not violence. You know, coming together, not division. And not only did they preach it, but they personified it. They were it. They walked that walk. You know? And really, the way it works is truth. As a side note, this is kind of my take on this a little bit, but truth is God. God is light. Light, darkness cannot stand against light. Darkness is nothing. You can't measure the speed of darkness. You can measure the speed of light. Light is, okay? And when you stand on truth, and you have your foundation on truth, which is God, it's never shaken, because there's nothing that can stand against it, okay? And unfortunately, there's people that, because of their pride or their ego or whatever, like light, when light shines in darkness and does away with darkness, some people don't like that. And that's why really it's spoken of as like the armor and sword of God. Like, truth cuts like a sword. And anyways, I want to read Ephesians chapter 6, verses 13 through 20. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always with prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. And for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. That right there was both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Charlie Kirk. Like, that was their gear, I would say, battle gear. And they would face whatever. And something like that, you know God's behind it. Like that is what God is like. It's only possible with God. And they involved God. And they knew that. And they stuck with that armor. The helmet, the breastplate, the sword, like of truth, the spirit of peace. They both personified that and were examples that we should try to look up to. Now, of course, the example, don't confuse it here. The example, Jesus Christ, of course, he is the way. And they were, I would say, better than the vast majority of us in walking that. In the fire, when it's not easy. And so, I argue that really Charlie Kirk is today's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I'm going to end here with the obvious. Of course, they were both assassinated for being bold. They were both assassinated for speaking truth. They were both assassinated for trying to bring people together to the light and take them out of darkness. Lead them out of darkness by using truth to change hearts and minds. Not by force, because that's not real, but by everyone's free will choosing it. Because not only did they speak it, they were it. So, and like I said, evil doesn't like, good. Evil can't work. And like darkness doesn't exist and it can't stand up to light. I mean, that's the best way to put it. That I can put it right now. Anyway, that can come to mind. And darkness doesn't like that, of course, because light eradicates darkness with no effort. It's just being there, just being. So, remember, being is believing. Like, be. It's not just saying. It's being, which is not easy. So anyways, if you stuck with through this video, thank you very much. And if you did put in the comments, or at least think of an answer to this question at the beginning, I'd be very interested if your answer changed right now, at the end of the video. But like always put comments, thoughts, tell me I'm an idiot, whatever, down in the comments below. But please share. At least share, your answer to this question, please, because I'm very interested in seeing. I mean, I can't. I mean, maybe I'm the only one that thinks this, but maybe I'm the only one that came to mind too. And but I would like to see what other people think, like what you think. So please comment below. If you like the video, please thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Ring-a-ding-a-ling that bell for notifications to let you know when I upload videos. And as always, stay strong and God bless.